Hello everybody, it's Big Al with some more content for Lord of the Rings Rise to War. First, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and as well a shout out to all the single fathers out there playing both roles as well. So on this video, I am going to give some tips for starting your season. Certain seasons, certain servers I should say, let you choose which style of settlement you want. Let me go back into that. So each of them have different factors when choosing, if you can choose. Like we are Linden. So Linden, the T4 that it gives us is the Noldor long shots. But it also, each one also gives buffs depending on which one it is. Like Mordor gives you, I think it's 10 or 20% extra ability, or 10 or 20% less ability points cooldown or whatever, so you get more there. Those are the kind of things you want to look at. Each one has, different things like Arnor, Battle Scholar. Mysterious Ring Power enables the men of Arnor to obtain more experience in battle. So that's one of the buffs. Their T4 unit is Ranger of the North. So just look around the map at pretty much the different factions and decide what fits your needs. Then when also you're going to have these building quarters, okay? It is not the end of the world if you can't select your settlement style and you're stuck with troops you really don't want. I don't use elves, but that's what I have. But you get this second quarter that opens up, and I want to say you can have a second quarter within 45 minutes to an hour of your server start. So think about what type of units you want to use. Next, I want to talk about a couple things that are crucial for the first couple days. Troop conservation. You need to keep your troops alive at all costs because you want to spend 80 to 90% of all your resources on buildings. Buildings are important. That's how you're going to get your affluence up. That's how you get more buffs, how you get more things to open up, more quarters. You level, you got to do your chapter progressions. So, a couple things with when you're doing your buildings. Do not waste resources on your tributes. The lumber tribute, stone, grain, ore. Only do the minimum you need to do for the chapter progression, because there's a couple in there that I think the grain or the ore has to be level 6 or something like that. But don't waste your resources on the tribute centers. You can maybe build them to level 2 just so it gives you a couple hundred, but anything more than that is going to be a waste of resources because they are not important. They're not cost effective the first day or two of the server. Next, you want to focus on the things to keep your chapter progression going. And most of them have the barracks, the conscription post, some of them is training grounds, some of them is the main hall, some of them is getting the quarters up. So focus on those buildings. The chapter progressions are so important because they give you rank, reputation, things like that. Now I'm going to go into the ring. Okay, you have to get the ring reputation points to be able to promote your ring and open different various skills. In the very beginning, there's a couple that you do not want to necessarily open or unlock because those points can be used elsewhere. Because you do not get there's more skills or ring skills than there are points given at the very beginning. Okay, but you're definitely going to want to do your time control, all your quarter ones, your command arts that gives you another commander. You're going to want to do any ones that give you resources, any that give you tiles. So, for instance, like fort. Okay, I didn't put a skill into fort until yesterday, I think, and that was day 6. Because the first 2 days, you're really not going to be building forts. Next is urgent support. You're not going to use that at the very beginning because you're not in a rush to get anywhere. Mind sharpening is another one. Don't put the point in there until later on because, frankly, you're not going to use it in most cases. So, those are the things you need to think about. Now, ring reputation is what brings up your ring level. Okay, you can get 3 commanders in your army once you hit ring level 10. You get your 4th one when you hit ring level 20. Now, this is impossible to unlock until the first 24 hours is over because that's one of the season progressions. Ends at after 24 hours, and that gives you enough ring reputation to get past 20. And then you can get your 4th commander. So there's another tip that comes with that. It is not as crucial to start the server exactly when it opens. I like to wait a couple hours until, say, 2 or 3 hours into the server start before I start my season. That way, at the end of the first 24 hours, I'm going to get that 4th commander inside of my army, and I have 2 to 3 hours with the first 24-hour buff. And the first 24-hour buff isn't as good as it used to be. But the one thing that's important on it is that if your commanders die, they come back to life after 1 minute. This can be a game changer when you're taking those big tiles sometimes. So, think about that when you're planning your server start. Next, we're going to go into the commanders. Okay, stamina conservation is very important too. Your main formation is the most important one when it comes to stamina. You do not want to waste it on stupid things. And by stupid things, I mean low level tiles. Level 3, 2s, 3s, 4s, you really do not want to waste it. Always swap gear to the army that you are using. Okay? Some of your gear slots are locked. Let me go down here. Well, here, this is an example. You can see on the accessory slot, it's still locked until he gets to level 20. So, when you start out, you only have the weapon. After you get to level 10, you unlock the helmet. Level 15 is the armor, level 20 is the accessory, and level 30 is the relic. So you're always going to want to change your best gear to the army that you're using for farming. Always. This is how you're going to take less losses. This is how you're going to take tiles and advance on tiles. Next, at the very start, you're only going to have 2 commanders in your army. You can get a 3rd commander in the army after, I want to say it's like 30, 40 minutes into the server, if you do it right. So, at the very start, you have 2 commanders in an army. You want a support and a damage dealer. And what I like to do is, I'd have my main army, okay? For this season, it's Gandalf, Boromir, Gimli, and Dane. I took Gandalf and Gimli, put them in an army. I put Dane and Boromir in the other army. I took both of them and took a level tile 2. Okay, so I have two level 2 tiles. I recalled them back to base. And the reason I did this was so that their stamina starts recuperating. After that, they will not touch another tile. You will not touch another tile until you get that 3rd commander in your army. You might have to take one level 1 tile with just some junk commander just for a chapter progression. but you do not really want to start farming until you get that third commander in the army. After that happens, you take your B team and your C team and you use those to farm tiles. 3s, 4s, 5s. Take your main army out and do the highest level mob you can without taking a lot of losses. So when they're level 5s, level 6s, it's probably going to be a level 10 for a couple of them. And then they'll get a couple levels, then you'll move up. Okay? Mobs are great. They are better XP than tiles until you get to, I think it's level 7 tiles, 6 or 7 tiles. And for those smaller players, you are going to need your main to get those tiles, but you do not want to waste all their stamina. So we talked about the stamina. We talked about swapping gear. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't do, and it drives me nuts. Okay. You have your B and C team out there farming tiles. Okay. Your A team is recuperating stamina. Take siege commanders. Take 3 siege commanders. Okay. Get 1 support commander. Okay. And then 2 damage dealers. Let's say Haragon. Okay. Set him up for the evade and the healing skill. Then you take 2 damage dealers that are siege commanders and just do level 6 mobs. Level 6, maybe level 10, that's it. But you want to do these mobs that are costing you no troops. There's many reasons for this. 1, you're leveling up your siege commanders. 2, you're making progress without losing really any troops. 3, a certain amount of mobs are going to give you speed ups. They're going to give you a little bit of grain. But more importantly, they're also leveling up your fellowship because they give fellowship experience points. And this is huge, especially early on, because you need to level those, get people donating to open up the different buffs. Now, the 4th reason, level 6 and 10 mobs give resources for their tips. Tips will come from a mob randomly. You could get maybe, say, 3 tips from 10 mobs, or you could get 1 tip from 20 mobs. It is random. Now, these tips at the very beginning have resources. Depending on what kind of mob it is, depends on what kind of resource. Resources are key. You need resources. Another reason, at the end of day 3, those tips will also start giving you XP as well. So those could be nice things as well. They'll give XP and resources, not just resources. You do have to watch out, make sure none of your tips expire. But if you have some at the start of that day, you could jump up a lot of your siege commanders. But always have siege commanders doing level 6 or level 10 mobs. Whatever doesn't cost any troops. What do you have to hurt? What does it hurt? I mean, you have B and C farming tiles. Well, they're marching to tiles. Well, what are you doing while they're marching? You're sitting there with your thumb up your butt. So this gives you something else to do and progress you and your fellowship. Next, always, always, always when you're starting out. Okay, I'm looking at this level 5 tile. You want to clairvoyance it. Okay, so that's that button there. Or you can click, here, let me show you. Or you can click on ring and hit clairvoyance there. Okay, so you want to scan every single tile because you want to know what armies are on there. Okay, you want to get the easiest defenders as possible. And what that's going to look like is you want the tile armies, you want the commanders not to have damage skills. So you don't want the damage dealers on there, like Dwalin or Lurtz or any of those. You want the easy commanders, Ori, Merry, and Pip. Frodo's not going to cause damage. Other tiles are like with Awen, for example, where her skills are her Shield Maiden for added defense is for medium units. Her R4 is for healing mounted units. Well, if the army on the tile is all small units, that's a wasted skill. Okay. Same thing with Theoden, usually wastes skills. Imrahil, Denethor, they have skills that buff medium units or mounted units, but if they have small units, they're wasting a skill point. You get what I'm saying? So always look for the easiest commanders to hit. Don't ever overextend yourself. If you're taking huge losses on a tile, you shouldn't be taking those tiles. Drop down a level. I think that's just about it for the tips for early game. So, again, don't forget to swap gear. Do not be lazy. Your best gear is on the army that you're using. It is going to save you troops. We talked about that. We talked about buildings, mobs, scanning tiles, who to farm with, who to do mobs with. So I hope this helps get people better starts to their season. And that's all I got. So, as always, make the most out of what you got.